Did you know that more than 90% of South African retirees are unable to maintain their standard of living prior to retirement, and that 67% have less than 50,000 Rand in their retirement funds? And then on top of this, a study from 10x Investments in 2021 of more than 15 million economically active South Africans revealed that only 50% of the population have some form of retirement plan, with only 6% being confident of having a good understanding of their investment strategy. Now, not only are these shocking statistics, but it is also really sad to see that there are so many old people in this country struggling just to survive. So in today's video, we are going to explore why exactly this is such a big problem in South Africa, and I will also show you exactly how much you really need in retirement, as well as what you should be contributing every single month to be able to retire comfortably. I will be mainly focusing on two principles of personal finance that is extremely important to understand, especially from a very young age. Guys, this is probably the most important thing that you will ever learn in your financial journey, and the earlier you get this right, the better off you will be in the long run. Trust me. Alright, so let's dive right into it then. Now, it would make sense to first take a step back and ask ourselves, why is it that so few people in this country can afford to retire? The obvious answer would be lack of job opportunities, poverty, and a weak governmental system. And although this might very well be the case for the majority of people, that is not something that I can really do anything about. But what I do know also plays a very big role in this problem is people's general lack of understanding of what it really takes to be able to retire. And this lack of understanding can be traced back to a lack of proper education, especially in the school system. Now, that I can definitely do something about. Most people my age does not even think about retirement planning, because why should they? It is more than 40 years away, bro. There's more than enough time to figure this out somewhere along the line, right? But that is probably the biggest mistake one can possibly make, which is to be ignorant to the fact that retirement planning needs to start the day that you earn your very first Rand. And I just think that this is a rather common problem for us as South Africans, to be short-sighted and not be willing, or sometimes even able, to look far into the future. Okay, so let's start off by calculating how much you will actually need in retirement. A general rule that was introduced in America that we as South Africans can loosely follow is what is called the 4% rule. And what this basically means is if you withdraw only 4% of your retirement investments every single year, and you only increase your withdrawal amount in line with inflation, your savings should theoretically last you at least 30 years in retirement. Now, in order to determine what your retirement pot needs to look like, you need to first figure out what your expected expenses will be once you actually retire. Now, it is obviously impossible to look that far into the future, so a good place to start is to see what your current expenses are, and then to gauge how much of your current lifestyle you would want to replicate in retirement. So, for example, let's say in order for you to sustain a fairly comfortable lifestyle, you need to currently spend 25,000 Rand per month. Now, your needs in retirement will be different to what they are now, as, for example, you will need to pay more for medical care, but you will probably pay less for transport and luxury items, and you won't need to make any more retirement contributions. So this will all really just depend on your unique situation. A widely accepted rule is that you will need about 75% of your final salary in order to allow you to live comfortably during your retirement. Okay, so in order to calculate your retirement pot, you need to multiply your monthly expenses by 12 to get your yearly expenses, which in this case is 300,000 Rand, and then you need to multiply that by 25. So in this case, you will need about 7.5 million Rand in today's money to retire if you think that you will have the exact same level of expenses, or 5.6 million Rand if you only need 75% of your salary. Note that I said today's money. Unfortunately, 5.6 million rand today won't be worth 5.6 million rand in the future because of the ugly eroding effects of inflation. Now, in order to simplify things, let's assume that you are currently 25 years old. If you want to retire at the age of 65, you need to know what you will need in 40 years time in your retirement pot to have the same purchasing power as 5.6 million rand today. So in order to do that, we need to adjust this 5.6 million rand by inflation, which let's assume would be on average 6% per year. This means that the rand amount that you will actually need to maintain your current lifestyle by the time you turn 65 is 57.8 million rand, not 6.5 million rand. Shocking, right? See why so many people get this wrong? Because they rarely factor in inflation when doing these types of calculations. So now that we know the amount that you will need at the age of 65, we can kind of reverse engineer the calculation to see how much you will need to invest every single month. If you are like most carefree millennials and only start investing at the age of 40, meaning you only have 25 years left to invest, and we assume an average growth of 10% on your investments, which is actually very ambitious, you need to invest a shocking 43,600 rand per month just to maintain your current lifestyle. If you were to start at the age of 35, you need to invest 25,500 rand per month. At the age of 30, it will be 15,200 rand per month. And if you listen to Peter and started investing immediately after watching this video, you only need to invest 9,100 rand per month. Only 9,100 rand per month. Now, I know that this is still a lot for some of you. So let's say you cut down your expenses and figure out that you only need about 15,000 rand per month in today's money to live a comfortable lifestyle. Using the same assumptions, this means that you will need 4.5 million rand in today's money, and if we take 75% of that, it is 3.3 million rand, which when adjusted for inflation will be 34.7 million rand in 40 years time. So again, if you only start investing at the age of 40, you will need to cough up 26,100 rand per month. At the age of 35, it will be 15,300 rand. At the age of 30, it will be 9,100 rand. And at the age of 25, it will only be 5,400 rand. I really hope that you guys can see what I'm trying to show you here. If we compare both scenarios with different timelines, then by starting to save and invest at the age of 25 instead of the age of 40, you need to, on average, invest 34,400 rand less per month when planning on withdrawing 18,750 rand in today's money, and 20,600 rand less per month when planning on withdrawing 11,250 rand in today's money in retirement. Now, I know that all of these numbers may sound scary, and frankly, they are, and they should be. Although my assumptions may not be 100% correct and that we did not take any taxes into consideration when doing these calculations, the purpose of this video is not to give you cold hard numbers, but rather to open your eyes and teach you two very important principles of finances: inflation and compound interest. The inflation rate in South Africa is quite high when compared with the rest of the world, and one can only really understand what inflation means when you look at the eroding effect it has on the value of the rand over several decades, which happens to be the timeline for our retirement investments. This is why it is so important to take the time to learn how to structure your long-term investments in a smart way so that they can deliver high enough returns that will beat the inflation rate, because otherwise the purchasing value of your money will just decay over time. To show you another example from the other side, let's say you won the lottery and now you have 7.5 million rand in the bank, which is technically enough to retire with today while withdrawing 25,000 rand every single month according to the 4% rule. Now, if you decide to cash it out and keep it as cash under your mattress for 40 years, this 7.5 million rand will only be worth a measly 730,000 rand in today's money by the time that you retire. So I really hope that you can now understand that wealth should always be measured in terms of buying power, not in the number of rands, as inflation will erode your buying power over time. Just quickly guys, if you guys found any value in this video so far, then please drop that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you. Okay, so now that you understand the full scope of the wrath of inflation, we need to try and figure out how we can combat the eroding effect of this monster. When it comes to long-term investments such as retirement products, we need to focus on three main things: the asset allocation, the fees you pay, and the amount of time your money is in the markets. Now, I already made videos explaining the first two concepts in detail, which I will link to here in the info card and down in the description. But for today's video, I want to mainly focus on the third concept, which is time in the market. As you've seen, by starting earlier in your life, your rands will just go much further, because over time, your rands will get babies, and those babies will get more babies, and soon 1 rand will turn into 10 rand, and 10 rand will turn into 100 rand. In fact, more than 91% of the value of an investment over a 40-year period is thanks to the powerful effect known as compound interest. To give you guys some more stats, an article from Alan Gray indicates that if you want to retire at the age of 65, and we assume an average return on your investments of inflation plus 5%, which is again very ambitious, you would need to save 17% of your pre-tax salary from the age of 25, 22% at the age of 30, 42% at the age of 40, and up to 59% at the age of 55. The impact of delaying your retirement is also nicely summed up in this table from Alan Gray. Due to the effect of compound interest, if you delay saving for retirement by 5 years, you will have 22% less in retirement, 55% less when delayed by 15 years, and 78% less when delayed by 25 years. This is when investing the exact same amount every single month. Now, I really hope that I've convinced you to take your retirement planning seriously and to start investing in your future self as soon as possible. Not only will this ensure that you are not dependent on others, especially the dismal government grants when you retire, but it will also be way easier to reach your retirement pot number when you allow compound interest to do the heavy lifting for you. So I guess it does not come as such a big surprise that so few people in South Africa can comfortably retire. Although poverty definitely plays a big role, I strongly believe that a lack of education is still the biggest contributing factor to this bleak statistic. Achieving a financially secure retirement is less about how much we earn and more about how much we engage in the process, inform ourselves, and save. Only when you really understand the full power of inflation and compound interest will you be able to approach your retirement strategy with confidence and success. If you know of anyone that would benefit from watching this video, then please share it with them so that our generation can change the trajectory of this country together. Thank you, and Tamaya Huntley.